It's Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, and we've got an action-packed video for you as we've got all kinds of weather on the way for millions across the U.S., and I wanted to start today's video off on this side so I could show you the satellite imagery over the Atlantic Ocean. You see this big swirly guy right here? That actually was being watched just yesterday by the National Hurricane Center for the potential for tropical development, which is the first time I've ever seen that. Usually you don't get those outlooks from the National Hurricane Center until May. So just a little interesting thing. It's no longer being watched right now. It's not a tropical system and it's not going to be. But wow, as if this March wasn't already crazy enough, we've got the National Hurricane Center on the clock. At the same time, now we've got a moderate risk of a significant winter storm over here in portions of Nebraska, South Dakota, and Kansas as we go into tomorrow. The enhanced risk goes all the way up into Wisconsin. On top of that, we've got blizzard warnings going out now for southern portions of Nebraska and northern portions of Kansas. That's going to expand off to the north and east, I believe, where we currently have winter storm watches in effect all the way up into the upper peninsula of Michigan. Here's what the radar could look like as we go into the future. We're going to have the storm go over the Rockies tonight, and then as we go into tomorrow, it's really going to get started over here in the plains. And once again, it's not going to be until that low pressure center is over the central plains before it really starts to deepen and produce a blizzard, which it likely will by 3 to 5 a.m. on Wednesday, where we're going to have very heavy snow and intermittent blizzard conditions over here from central Nebraska down into Kansas. We're talking about wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour, blinding snow, blowing snow, and thunder snow. That's right. I think that anybody that's really close to the rain snow line here on Wednesday morning, even as we go into the day on Wednesday, is going to likely see thunder snow, as we are going to be seeing thunderstorms in southeast Nebraska and western Iowa at the same time. It's going to be storming quite heavily, potentially around Fort Dodge at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. And then shortly after that, the rain's going to switch over to snow by 10 a.m. even. And then I think that you guys will have the potential to see thunder snow as well. This is going to be a raging blizzard as we go into the afternoon and evening hours. I think the closer you are to the low pressure center, the better chance of seeing blizzard conditions. I think that you guys up here in the UP of Michigan and up here into portions of Wisconsin will see less in the way of blizzard conditions, but you're still going to see some strong winds and some heavy snowfall rates. The same thing can be said for you guys up there in Canada. And then the farther east we go, the less organized the storm becomes. This is going to bring some snow to Chicago. It's going to bring some snow to Michigan. It's really not going to be a huge deal by the time it gets over there, as the whole system's just going to kind of unwind over the tri-state area between Iowa, Illinois, and Missouri. Something interesting about this system is the very thin band of heavy snowfall that we're going to see. It's actually going to be a difficult forecast. We're going to have a widespread area of 6 to 12 inches of snow, but it's going to be not very wide. So like, for example, Des Moines, I'm starting to think that you guys might not even see any snow out of this. And Fort Dodge, you guys are going to be right on the edge. You might drive 20 miles to the north and west and have a foot of snow, and then 20 miles to the south and east of town only has an inch or two. It's going to be one of those kind of systems. It's fair to assume that areas like Sioux City will get in on the 5 to 9 inch range. I would say that Fort Dodge, you guys could see 4 inches of snow all the way up to 8 inches of snow, maybe even a little bit more than that. Albert Lee, 7 to 10 inches. Rochester, also in that 4 to 8 zone. A lot of northern portions of Wisconsin, we're talking about a general 4 to 8 inches of snow here, and then all the way up there in Marquette in the UP of Michigan, I think that you guys could see 8 to 12 inches of snow out of this. There will be some places that see more than that, obviously, but this is actually going to be a thin band of heavy snow and could barely miss you, and you miss out on a foot of snow or something like that. And what's crazy is while the snow is falling, we're going to have a severe weather threat over here in Illinois and Indiana. This includes Chicago, and yeah, it could be pretty interesting actually. So here's what the radar could look like as we go through the day on Wednesday. Notice how there's not a lot going on, but there is instability rising in the atmosphere here, and then boom, right around 4 or 5 p.m., we're going to start to see storms firing over here in eastern Illinois. These will have the chance of producing some damaging winds and some large hail. The tornado threat is going to be somewhat minimal, but it's not going to be zero, so we're going to watch these storms, especially as they first pop up, for a very slight chance of an isolated tornado or two. But for the most part, I think that we're going to be dealing with some hailers and some normal spring wind makers as they move through Indiana up into southern portions of Michigan. And then, as you can tell, the closer these storms get to Ohio, the less strong they are, and they're going to kind of fall apart as they go across Kentucky. We're going to have some rain showers down there in Tennessee, all the way down to Alabama and Georgia, but it's not going to be anything noteworthy down there. The only severe threat we've got is really from around the time the storms pop up until, midnight right afterwards. So we're going to be watching this area, but so far it looks like it's going to be some garden variety storms. All right, so let's zoom out and look even farther into the future. Once again, I've got to point out that this is going to be a super strong low pressure center. And if it wasn't for our most previous storm coming through and clearing the Gulf, getting all those moist dew points out of the way, we would have another big severe weather outbreak over here in the Midwest down into the deep south. So thankfully, we're not going to have to deal with that this time. We are going to have some severe weather, but it's not going to be as widespread. But one thing that is going to happen with this one starting today is the same situation with the very strong winds and the dry air coming across New Mexico, Texas into Oklahoma. This is why we've got a critical, extremely critical risk of wildfires over here in Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico, and a critical risk all the way up into Kansas. So get ready. This is going to be a similar situation as to what we had the other day. We might have some dust. We might have some treacherous driving conditions. And then, of course, wildfires are going to be spreading like crazy out here. So Amarillo down towards Midland, you guys are going to be under the gun for some big time wildfires. And also Altus, Oklahoma, be watching out down there. It's going to be a very windy and a very dry day. And then looking even farther into the future, we're going to have some windy rain showers move through the northeast. Nothing crazy over there. Some backside snow maybe filling into New England and Maine and Nova Scotia. We're going to have another little system come through as we go into the early part of the weekend where we might have some rain and some light snow from the Great Lakes down into the Ohio Valley. Our next real concerning storm starts off over here in the Pacific Northwest on Friday, where it is going to bring some heavy snow and some heavy rain to Washington and Oregon, maybe even some heavy snow into Idaho and Wyoming as well. And then it's going to try to produce another severe weather situation over here in the central U.S. as we get into Sunday, March 23rd, because by this time we are going to have some time for the moisture and the instability to increase over the Gulf, and this storm's going to try to pull it up once again. Storm Prediction Center is watching Dallas, Shreveport, and a little bit of western Mississippi for the potential for some severe weather here on Sunday, March 23rd. So we are going to be watching this very closely as we go forward. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be a huge outbreak of severe weather. It looks like the main threats are likely going to be hail and wind. The tornado threat isn't quite apparent just yet. However, that will completely depend on small mesoscale features as we get closer. So we really don't know much about the specific threats just yet, but just know that we are watching y'all in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi for the very real potential for significant severe weather as we go into Sunday, March 23rd. So you guys need to be paying attention and preparing for that. And then after the severe weather, we are going to deal with some heavy rain up here from the deep south up into the mid-Atlantic region, the Appalachians. That could cause some flooding, but once again, nothing abnormal going on here. And the good news is, I think we're actually going to enter a pattern after the 23rd and the 24th, where we're going to have a ridge forming in the west and a series of smaller troughs dipping down into the east. That's going to make things cooler over here, warmer over here. And while I'm sure we all wish on the eastern side of the country we could just get right into the heart of spring and have 70 to 80 degree days every day, I'm willing to hold off a little bit because this pattern is going to keep things quiet. It's the other one, right? Whenever we have cold air in the west and warm air in the east, those kinds of patterns are the ones that promote the big storm systems, the tornado outbreaks and stuff like that. So anytime that we can hold on to this for a brief period of time in March or April, it cuts down on our ability to have big time severe weather outbreaks. So we'll take it. I don't know how long it's going to last, but it's looking like it might last at least through March 31st. And then we're going to get into the heart of severe weather season in April. So I'm sure things will pick back up then. But as of right now, we're going to be watching this blizzard. We're going to be watching the upcoming severe weather threats, and we're not too worried about anything beyond that. But of course, we'll be the first to let you know if anything comes up. And that's all the weather talk I have for you today. There's a very slight chance that we'll go live tomorrow. If there's a tornado warning or two with our slight risk, and we also have a blizzard going on at the same time, that might actually tip the scales and make us go live. So make sure you turn notifications on and are ready for that. Should be a good time. I appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you like the video and share us out there on social media, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Ooh.